Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Big Home Ed Conversations. You're here, as always, with myself, Kelly Rigg. I am a home educating mum. I'm also the founder of Off-Roading Motherhood. I'm a qualified mindset coach, and I really love working with families who are transitioning mindsets, getting themselves in the right headspace to home ed. And people who are kind of going through neurodivergent diagnosis for their kids and all sorts of other stuff as they kind of realize that things are changing and they need to get their head around a different way of being. But also, obviously, as always, my wonderful good friend Ashley Vanerio is my co-host. So we started these conversations. She's also a fellow kind of home ed mum of three, an ex-primary teacher. So our conversations always ended up super passionate and really, really, really engaging. We'd end up sitting there for hours, wouldn't we, with a cup of coffee in hand, be like, do you need another
Yeah,
one? I guess you need another one. Like, really deep, passionate, mindset shifting stuff. We have held each other accountable. We have opened each other's minds. We have helped to make each other realize all kinds of amazing things over the years. And actually,
yeah,
we found ourselves just really wanting to bring that to you guys because we've been told this podcast is like joining us at that table. So grab a coffee, get settled in, come and chat with us. And yeah, just come and enjoy the ride. This episode, we want to talk about being weird. Now, you might think we're going to be talking about the kids being weird because lots of people think that homemade kids are weird. No, they're not. They're wonderful. And yes, they might be more unique and individual, but that's the point.
yeah,
But no, actually, what we are talking about more than anything is the fact that we as adults hate the idea of being weird, rebellious, stepping outside of the norm in a world that is so hell-bent on making us one particular cut and paste thing. So we're going to kind of get into the real challenges behind setting our own values, believing our own beliefs, and actually stepping outside of our comfort zone a little bit. So that's going to be what we're talking about today. But I thought, as always, we'd start with our gratitude. Do you have one off the top of your head, Ashley, or shall I go first with this one?
Well, I will tell you, this is not like a super exciting thing, but I have been able to get my hands on this tea that I really love, this peppermint tea, and it is a treat because it is not cheap. So I cannot get it all the time, but they have a store in London, and I was recently there to see a show, and so I stopped in and got it. And it has been so delightful to have either it's starting my morning or ending my evening. And it's just one of those little luxuries that really I can sit there and I just enjoy that moment. It is a really nice tea. It has like I think corn flour in it, if I'm remembering correctly. Like it's a little blue flower.
Yeah.
It just adds that little something. Yeah, I'm a big peppermint tea fan in general, and this is the best one I found. So I have really been loving it. I'm trying to ration it, not have it every day so I can make it last, but I highly recommend
You'll have to let
this
me know
tea.
which
Yeah.
brand it is. That sounds amazing. I love a peppermint tea as well, actually.
Yeah, I think it's called Bird and Blend, if I'm remembering right. There's definitely a bird in there, so I'll have to look it up. You can order it
I'll have to
online,
find it.
but yeah, I like to avoid shipping costs if I can, so
Yeah, I
go
was going
right
to
to
say
the
it's nice as well
source.
when you just get yourself a little treat when you're out and about. I know
Yeah,
you were saying that you tend to end up buying yourself some birthday presents, and I think when you see
yeah,
things that you really love, just getting yourself a few really lovely things like that just really make your day better. I think sometimes we can
yeah,
imagine that money needs to be spent on ourselves in like big elaborate, like go for the spa visit or go and do some big thing, but actually little
right.
things like that, little gifts to ourselves can really make a difference in our day to day.
Yeah,
I know that like the feeling of buying some brand new pants or something always just feels absolutely incredible, isn't it? Like little things which you're really going to appreciate for quite a while.
yeah, exactly.
My
Yeah.
gratitude today is a little bit random. I'm going to show Ashley because she'll be able to see, but you guys can't see it. My daughter decorated my phone for me today with a load of stickers. We did it
It's so
underneath the cover. It's a
sparkly.
see-through cover. It's really sparkly. It's
Yes.
lovely. And these are these sea stickers, basically. There's seahorses and corbs and cute stuff like that. It's perfect for the summer. But they're really great because they're the kind of
Yes.
the peel and stick stickers. The ones that aren't going to stay
Oh.
stuck on my phone forever. It's really nice. And
Aw.
it's a really weird thing. So the gratitude from that stems from this random application. You've probably seen adverts for it anyway, and I am going to name drop it, but it's called Finch.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, um, it's just one of those things. It's so random. I thought it was going to be ridiculous. It's basically a self-care pet app. It's a little penguin, and you're supposed to set little goals for yourself every day, and you tick them off, and it gets to go for an adventure, and you have a little conversation with it. And I honestly thought this is just going to be for the kids. It's a bit cute. Hopefully, I'll get them to brush their teeth a little bit more often without so much fighting. I put in some stuff in there, sort of for gratitude, for reflection during my day, to remind me to do things. So I have ADHD, so that means I have a really annoying habit of out of sight, so out of mind. And I might set an intention. I want to eat 5 fruit and vegetables every day, but I will forget. It just goes out of my head immediately. And so I'm talking about all these things and these intentions that I want to do for myself all the time. And I never end up doing them consistently because I completely forget that I wanted to do them in the first place. And then months will go by and be like, I was going to do 20 minutes of exercise in the morning before I did anything else, any kind of exercise. I'm in the mood for like cardio or do something crazy. If I want to go for a walk, I'll go for a walk. Why am I still doing it? I completely forgot that I wanted to be doing it. It's insane. But I set some really random, tiny goals in it. Things like smile at your kids. Just smile at them. It only needs to be for a second. I just look at them and smile. Like, actually appreciate them for a few seconds. Smile at yourself in the mirror. Like little tiny, literally little goals that are so easy to achieve. Take 3 deep breaths that I've scheduled for 2 o'clock every afternoon to remind me, just take a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
And it's really shocking how much happier I am. Genuinely, how much more connected I am with the kids, how much more relaxed I am. I am genuinely finding it really lovely. And like the actual like the pet thing is much less important to me than just the fact that this app is just really easy to use and it's free and I can just put all these thoughts into it and it just reminds me. And I put like different gratitude reflections on for every day of the week so that I get a different one every day. And to just have to try and remind me to think about different things. Like there was a great
I
one there
love
today. It's like
that.
treat something in your day that's
Yeah.
completely boring and normal that you never would even pay the slightest bit of attention to it like a real gift, like really appreciate it and look at like, wow, thank you so much for you. I was like, I chose my
Yeah.
duvet. And I was just like, oh, I love you so much. Like, what can I do without you? Like, you're just such a fantastic thing in my life.
Keep me so
And
warm.
honestly, it is just amazing. And I love it. So if you're finding yourself having the same struggle, do that. But the sticker thing stemmed from that because I was smiling at her doing her colouring and just watching her and actually appreciating her doing that. And I noticed the sparkly stickers and I was like, I want the little turtle one. Give me the turtle one. And she's like,
Aw.
"Give me the turtle one." And then she's like, and I was like, oh no, I don't think it's going to stick to my clothes. I know, let's decorate Mummy's phone. And like, she was like,
She
really?
was probably
And
like,
we had,
oh my gosh, really?
yeah, and it turned us sitting in a
Aw.
hospital waiting room waiting for an eye appointment moment into a really lovely, connected, happy, engaged moment that just has made my day. So yeah,
Love
there's
that.
my gratitude. We put it on about it for ages, but it's really nice. I think it's definitely helping me to notice more. So that's really good. And I
Yeah,
think we all need that for sure. So yeah,
definitely.
so
I love that.
so our conversation today. Why does being weird feel so uncomfortable? And we started having this conversation like we always do to try and get our thoughts straight before recording. And it just started getting so good that I was like, stop, 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 stop. We're not going to get into this anymore
Yeah.
because we're saying all the things that we need to say on the podcast. So let's just crack on.
Yeah.
And I was basically saying that there was a moment when we're really trying to say the real struggle here is because as women, as men, we know what we're supposed to look like, sound like, behave like, want, need, do. Like, we know what kind of careers we should be having. We know how much effort we should be providing. We know how tidy we should be. We know how often we should brush our teeth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know
Yeah. Yeah.
what we are supposed to be. And we know that the world will judge us if we are not those things.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of us have grown up in a society that has these opinions. And obviously there are different societies all around the world. So depending on where in the world you're listening from, you will have a different copy of like what you are supposed to be. And that might be really, really strict. It might be quite relaxed. I'm hoping there's some places out there in the world where people don't necessarily feel much this way, but I'm sure that in every society, there is just this collective expectation of how we're supposed to be. That means that when we decide to step outside of that and genuinely, truly accept something about ourselves, love ourselves anyway, decide that we don't care if we're blonde, actually, like we're quite happy being a slightly greying brunette. And no, actually, I don't like shaving my armpits. Yeah, it's hilarious because it makes my armpits really uncomfortable and I don't like it. I just actually start to relax about these things a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably going to shave them if I go swimming because it's so bloody ingrained. I can't let it go. But it's just one of those things, just like, there is definitely some stuff in there that I'm like, do you know what? Actually, I don't care about that anymore. And the other day I literally had this like, irritating, intrusive thought just drifted through my head, but like, you're letting yourself go. This is what they mean by letting yourself go. And I'm just like, yeah, and isn't it funny how as a teenager, the thought of someone one day letting themselves go was spoken about like the worst possible thing you could do. And it's like, and
Right.
actually, it is so freeing, people. Like, just actually getting to exist in my own body and not be constantly criticizing it, fixing it, plucking it,
Yeah.
breaking it to try and make it better for somebody else's eyeballs or for somebody else's perception of me. Tangent with this. Get back to home education. When I chose to home educate, I had my entire fiber of my being freaking out at the idea of being so different to my peers.
Yeah.
Like at that point, when I chose to do it, I had made a couple of home ed acquaintances. I had no concept of how big the community was. I had no idea how lovely everybody was going to be and how easy it was going and how wonderful it was going to be for me and how they're all going to be completely my people. So I was jumping, like it's a bit like jumping off of a top of a waterfall and hoping that it's deep enough. Um, and that you're not just going to, it's just, I'm so scared. And I really, I want to go back to that really and give myself a massive hug because it was so scary. Because stepping outside of what people expect you to do and be, actually choosing something different and trying to be confident in that, it's really hard, right? Really hard. So I don't know how you felt, Ashley. Did you find you felt the same?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other part of it too is like you just become more comfortable with it because you have to keep reliving it. Like this decision, it's not, I mean, it's a decision you make and then you start doing it. But every time you meet someone new, or every time someone's like, "Oh, are you happy your kids are on break?" I just right now I'm like, "Yeah, it's great." Like, or I just can't be bothered to have casual conversations about it with other people anymore because they just get too chaotic. But like in general, if I'm out to dinner with someone and they're like, what grade are your kids in? What school do they go to? And then it's like oh, okay, well, we homeschool, so it's like you have to keep
Mm,
having that conversation. You keep telling your story and brace for impact. What's their reaction going to be? So I think like initially that's really scary and it is just like obviously different
mm,
from what people are expecting you to respond with and just in general what most of the population does. And
mm.
then as time goes on, you just don't care anymore. So, it's the homeschool version of letting yourself go. You just don't just doesn't matter anymore. And you have the conversation and you're just more confident in it so that doesn't matter. And I think that's really what we want to get our kids to that point too, not in terms of homeschool, but like in terms of the decisions that they make in life. We just want them to be comfortable with it and confident with it, regardless of what other people think of that decision.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
agree. Actually, I was literally just thinking. I had a conversation with my son, I think sometime last year, um, about how when we choose to do something different and to stand up for that choice, we actually give other people permission to be different too.
Yeah.
That someone might make fun or they might say something and that might make us immediately feel a little bit like, oh, am I supposed to be like that then? But actually what we have to got to remember in that moment, if we truly believe or love something, so say for example, like you really love dinosaurs, and someone's like, do you still love dinosaurs? Like that's for babies or whatever. They'd be like, yeah, I really love dinosaurs. They're really interesting. Like, do you have any idea how many cool dinosaurs there are? Like actually standing up for that and being like, no, I do love them. Like
Yeah.
it's not for
And tell that
babies.
to
Like,
every
you insane?
paleontologist out
Like, that's
there.
so fascinating. Like, come and learn about this with me. Like, this is really cool. But actually, what you need to remember is that person has been made to feel like they're not allowed to like it by somebody else.
Yeah.
And so you can actually push it back the other way. So, like, that's like a domino effect that's going one way. And if you stand strong and you actually go, no, actually, I want to do it this way, you can quite literally flip the game and push it back the other way and give that other person permission to like something and
Yeah.
be passionate about it. And actually, as an adult, going into situations and saying, actually, no, I stand strong in this. I believe this. I'm going to have some confidence in myself, my beliefs, my mindsets. My goodness, the respect that you get from other people is
Yeah.
insane. Like, do we respect the people out there who are speaking their minds and making change and being different? Yes, we do. Like, do we
Yeah.
love actresses who are in bigger bodies, who are really confident and funny and really
Yeah.
And really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely one of the values that I think we hold pretty strong is just making decisions like with all the facts and taking into account like what's important to you and but also just being really like that like strength and conviction, right? Like really feeling like it's okay to be who you are and it's okay to choose something that's a little bit different. Like my kids are really into horses, and so there's this crafty pony. If you know me, you've heard me say this a million times. We should own stock in this company. It is a stuffed animal pony that has all of the tack and like everything that you would have for a real pony in like stuffed animal form. And it actually is quite a learning tool, which is clearly how they pitch it. You really learn how to put all the stuff on and off. It's quite cool. But I think that probably not many, my daughter will be 11 next week, not many 11-year-olds are still playing with their stuffed animals. And my daughter loves these things. And I will be very unkind to any person who makes her feel badly for playing with it because I love
Yeah.
it and she loves it. And she can just spend hours like putting the bridle on and off and the saddle on and off and walking it around the room and then changing the, like, I don't know, blanket it has over it, like the coat, whatever. So I don't,
Yeah.
I clearly need to spend more time with them because I don't know all the terms, but yeah, maybe she'll teach me.
Remember my son playing with other kids back when we first started home educating. Actually, I think it was one of the first home ed meetups we went to, and I can remember because I was so anxious, and I was like, "It is actually like good, right? Like it is actually a good idea." My son was playing with this amazing boy who was playing with dinosaurs with him in the mud, and I got chatting to the mum, and I was like, "How old is he?" She's like, "Oh, he's 12." I was like, he's literally playing with my 5-year-old so kindly and patiently and engaged with the game and having fun. And like, there was no like, I'm too old for this, or like,
Right.
I'm not allowed to like that, or I shouldn't be playing with that anymore, or like, I should grow up and just behave like this now, or act aloof, or sit on a phone the whole time, or like, there was none of that. And I was like, is this like what real childhood looks like? And I think what's really interesting is you get people making comments sometimes, and you maybe kind of get the feeling that they're feeling it anyway. Is that actually that means that they're being too childish, or they're not growing up fast enough, or like you're not encouraging them to be more independent or more grown up. And yet, our entire society spends most of its time saying that children grow up too fast, and that we've lost the nature of childhood, and that children aren't playing enough, and that they're not like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
crazy to me that we get all of this back and forth
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah. It's just, you're either, you can never get the right balance, apparently. It's too much one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so I think that's sort of why you have to just like let it go and just be like,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing. And yeah,
This is
it's
my kid.
hard.
This is how they want to be.
Yeah.
And they're happy and they're thriving and they're not anxious. They're not stressed. They're having fun. They're engaged with what they're doing. They're learning something at the same time because they're always learning. I think it is really hard, isn't it? Sometimes we're facing what the carbon copy is supposed to be and kind of what other people are expecting them to be or capable of at the ages they are. I mean, I'm also facing this hugely, with the fact that we are a neurodivergent family, and my kids are kind of, we're obviously embracing and trying to understand their neurodivergent needs and capabilities. And I always say in the nicest possible way that my son is 8, but bits of him are 12 in terms of his intellect and his ability to understand certain subjects and his fascination with certain things. That some of him is like, my goodness, it's like talking to a grown up. He's just so clever. But there are bits of him that are more like a 4-year-old, but he is physically in a 12-year-old's body. And like, he has the physical behavior is more like a 6-year-old. And so it's like, it's actually really hard because society looks at him and practically expects a 12, 13-year-old boy. Um, And he is not that by any stretch. He is 8, and he is actually, in some ways, his behavior is younger. He's developmentally slightly delayed. And so actually, well, I like that phrase, but it just kind of gives you the idea of what I mean, that he
Yeah.
acts more like a younger child. He doesn't have the same consequence drive. He bumps into stuff. He's a bit chaotic. He runs around like a loony. Like, at the end of the day, people look at that and therefore maybe will be judging him, judging me, thinking that he's not behaving very well, whatever. But actually, he's just having fun, and he's just a great kid and full of energy and wants to be excited and happy and out there. And I love that he's so confident and happy in himself. And also that at the end of the day, people have perceptions of what they think people are supposed to be at what age, and that's their fixed idea in their head. And I think what's really lovely about the home educating community and this kind of new generation of parenting as well, because I don't think it is just in the home ed community. I do definitely see it across the board in parenting these days. Is just starting to do a bit more critical thinking, and
Yeah.
starting to change the expectations and start to understand that kids are kids, and they actually do need to have a little bit of compassion towards that, and also appreciated for it. Not just kind of, we're not just trying to raise adults here like we are spending time with children. They are currently children. I think it's definitely changing. I think opinions are changing, but obviously you've got enough people out there still who care
Yeah.
about these things.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with the obviously very different technology than we have today. And like we just would be outside all the time, all day. I mean, from morning till night, it was sort of like, see you, maybe we'll see you at lunchtime, and then we'll see you when it gets dark. And then during school time, it was like that on the weekends. So we would get like the neighborhood kids together. We'd be playing huge games across all the yards of the houses in our neighborhood. And I just don't see as much of that anymore. And I'm hoping that kids are going to get back to that. I mean, my kids are the only ones outside riding their bikes most of the time in our neighborhood, and there are kids in this neighborhood. So what are these kids doing? It's definitely, and maybe they're doing other stuff, and that's fine. Like I don't know what they're doing is my point. But I wish they were out riding bikes with my kids because I that was such a fun part of childhood, that like freedom to just, be a kid and not have to worry about what test you have coming up or what you want to be when you're older or what college you're going to get into or any of that stuff. It was just free from adult influence, and you couldn't get into too much trouble because there was no
Yeah,
one with a cell phone in their pocket,
yeah,
So I do hope it's coming back. I do hope that, this generation right now of parents is kind of prioritizing that. And it does feel that way. It does feel like, you mentioned kind of like finding your people. And I do feel like that does happen the older you get, because you start to not only realize who you are, but you kind of find out what the higher priority things are. And so that pulls you, like there are many differences that I have from all my friends, but there tends to be some pretty important things that we align on. And that's definitely something I think you kind of refine as an adult versus when you're a kid and you're just trying to fit in.
I
So,
think this is the thing. Like, we've got to remember that human beings do need belonging is one of the
yeah,
fundamental things
it
that makes
is.
us happy and satisfied with a human life. But what we have to really remember, there's a distinction between belonging and fitting in. And this is a really, really crucial bit that actually we have to remember in mindset shifting, is that the goal isn't to just change sides, to just suddenly be like, okay, I'm a home educator, I'm just going to believe everything these people believe and then it'll be fine.
Right.
Like, that's not how this works. The concept of belonging is actually truly accepting who you are, knowing who you
Mm.
are, which is a massively difficult thing to do when you will have spent an awful lot of your life being told to squash, put away, put stuff in cupboards, don't be like that, do be like this, wear stuff like this, care about this. Like, you will have been told things as facts that you have got to spend some time unpicking. But essentially, concept is you end up getting stuck just fitting in and changing yourself again to be how other people want you to be in the ed community. And like, okay, I've got to be like this then. I can't think this and I can't believe this. I've got to believe this because this is how the home ed community think. It's not true. And it's very important to remember that we want to belong. We want to feel truly, authentically accepted. We want to feel wanted. And if we are turning up to things and being entirely ourselves, talking too much, like whatever, like just, I don't know, being super passionate about things, like whatever it is we are, like, just like these things might not sound so bad to you, but like I've always felt like they were, and they weren't things I could be, and that people wouldn't like me for it, and they'd find me annoying, or they'd need to go away, or they'd be being getting bored with me, or whatever. And sure, some people do,
Yeah.
and that's fine. And now I just recognize that if somebody does not like me or finds me too much, then they're just not my person. And it
Right.
doesn't have the same pain attached to it. I don't feel like I've just got to be a different person for that person. I honestly just, I can be polite to that person. Obviously, I'm not going to be horrible to them, but I will just be like, okay, fair enough. Like, we're just not really meant to be. And I'll just put my energy where it's wanted. And belonging is super important to me. And I don't think I've ever experienced friendship other than fitting in types of friendships until I actually decided to home ed. And that wasn't just because of home ed. It was because I was doing a lot of mindset work and mental work and self growth and sort of really
Hmm.
shifting some feelings around stuff. And just it feels like it's a lot of work. And I guess it is. As I've always said, it's kind of like an onion. Like you take off one layer, and things feel better. Like you feel like you've accepted something about yourself, you're giving yourself a bit more love, you're whatever, you're processing something, you feel good. And then it's okay for a little while, and then you come across another layer. Like you notice something else. And you just peel them off one at a time until you get to the core of who you are and what you believe.
Hmm.
And honestly, I don't think the journey's ever really done, but I think it's really lovely to start peeling back the layers of people's opinions and your parents' expectations and your teachers' expectations and your boss's expectations and all the stuff which maybe you don't fully align with, and it makes you miserable. And I think we really worry about being different because we feel like if we're different and we try and embrace ourselves and people won't like us, but if we can remember that people won't like us for it, partly because they're jealous and they wish they could do it, and they are looking at you being like, well, it's all right for you,
Yeah.
but they're just not, they haven't done their work. And also, they might not like you because actually you're just not their person. That doesn't
Yeah.
make who you are bad. It makes who you are the right person for somebody else. And so it's okay to let that relationship drop and to go find another person instead.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we have to accept that being weird is not a bad thing. It's not actually weird at all. It's just different, and different is okay. It is safe to be different.
Yeah. And that's hard to sort of teach that. Teach isn't the right word, but like to
Mm.
kind of share that with your kids, especially in like the preteen and teen years when really developmentally they're driven to be accepted by their peer group and to fit in with their peer group and, caring less about their family at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's hard. We all were there, right? We all remember those years. And so I think if we can model it as best we can, maybe it'll help. I don't know. I'm not quite there yet with my kids, but I see that on the horizon. And I know it's going to be a tricky time when they kind of officially shift to teenagers.
Yeah. I think that like when you get to the point of them having those relationships and they're out there trying to get to know other people, wanting to be wanted, wanting to be liked, starting to maybe have their crushes and wanting to be with somebody else. That actually, I guess in that moment, this foundation of be yourself, love yourself, you don't have to be any specific thing to be loved, will help them to find the right person. That sure, they're gonna go through phases of wanting to fit in or putting themselves into different social groups and playing along a little bit. And they might be with people in the end who they don't actually just necessarily gel with. But I
Yeah,
think
of
the
course.
constant
Yeah.
support and reminders and reassurance that they don't need to change who they are to be wanted, that if
Yeah.
those people don't want them like that, then they are not their person. I know my mum used to say that to me, and I know I didn't necessarily take it in fully at the time,
Right.
but I also
You
don't
remember
feel like
now.
I had the
Yeah.
confidence. I didn't have the confidence then. And I
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
hadn't had the foundation that I hope that we're offering our kids. So the constant
Yeah.
opportunity to just be themselves and to be amongst social groups of kids who, being perfectly honest, is very, very, very bullying light. There's very little bullying. There's very little judgment. Most parents in the home ed community are raising their kids to be accepting,
Yeah.
non-judgmental, compassionate, recognizing that kids are having a hard time, not that they're necessarily nasty or horrible or whatever. Like actually that child is not okay for some reason and they need a little bit more compassion. Yes, set boundaries, support your own needs, but also recognize that that person might actually need something right now, like they actually aren't okay. Like
Yeah.
we spend an awful lot of time coaching and supporting our kids. Again, I'm not saying this is exclusive to the home ed community. I'm completely aware that there are lots of amazing parents out there doing exactly this around their kids' school careers and supporting them with their relationships really well. And it's this effort that goes into parenting, teaching our kids to be critical thinkers, teaching them to recognize when something isn't right, noticing the feelings in their bodies and questioning whether or not they feel good. Like, all of this work is so valuable because they might not realize it now, how important that's going to be later. But bits of those lessons will stick and they will use them. They will come in handy and they will recognize, hopefully, when they don't feel right in a situation, and they will reach out and say something. And I guess that's all we can hope for, is that this does actually teach them to do things a little bit differently to how maybe we did. And I know that I was in my early 30s when I started the self-growth work that I've done, when I started to recognize the years and years and years of conditioning and belief structures that I would just adhered to. It just felt like they were
Yeah.
facts, that you just have to do them. And it's just like, well, no, actually, you don't have to. But that's just what people are expecting of you. Like, I don't know, a great concept is body confidence, or something we were touching on when we were talking about this before we came on, which is the idea that our bodies are supposed to be straight sized, essentially, that we're supposed to be in a fit, athletic body that is thoroughly well nourished, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, taking all the right supplements, drinking all the right amounts of water, moving plenty every day, super heart health, all the rest of it, right? That we're supposed to be that. That's what we're supposed to be. And we can argue this until we're blue in the face and say, whatever, people may well have feelings like that. Yeah, okay, we're not supposed to be that way. So, like, think about that question for a second and just be conscious of any kind of
Yeah.
judgment that comes up as you might be thinking about this. But the conscious thought there is actually, are we supposed to be that way in terms of just for our own happiness and health, which is a choice that we can make for ourselves if we want to be that and we feel good like that and that's how we want to be? Or are we trying to be that because we're worried that other people are going to judge us, criticize us, tell us off, make us feel bad, lecture us, etc.? Like, is it because actually we're being picked on for it? And like, I was talking to my son this week about, he'd made a couple of comments about me being chubby. And I am in a bigger body, and I have been since I was 3 years old. So it's not going to be something I will truly, completely kick. And so it's something I've had to live with for my entire life. And it's only in the last few years that I've managed to, with kind of intuitive eating and lots of self-love, accept myself, love myself, and actually stabilize my weight and actually start to become a lot healthier. I move more for joy and I eat better and I am more conscious of
Yeah.
drinking water and not having as much caffeine. And I notice the sensations in my body around certain foods and all these things. And something I was never capable of doing before because it was constant dieting and then sort of gaining weight back again in a angry rage
Mhm.
cycle. And he made this comment anyway a couple of times about me being chubby. He was being playful. We're a bit of a playful, jivey family in lots of different ways anyway. But I said to him, Felicity, are you saying that just being playful, just like poking fun, like and having a bit of a snuggle with me and being like, oh, I love your chubby? Or are you saying it to be a bit mean? And he goes, I think I'm trying to be a bit mean. I said, why is that? Like, what are you worried about right now? And he was like, I kind of feel like I don't know if you're supposed to be like this. I think that maybe you're not supposed to be in a big body. And I was like, okay. I said, so is the intention behind it that you want me to change? That you want that to be different? And
Mm.
I said, because we need to remember that the reason why we say things to people matter. And it can have a really big impact on how people feel about themselves. And I said, I'm in a place in my life where I feel really confident in who I am. And I can take those little kind of jibes and comments and not get
Right.
upset by it. And I
Yeah.
said, but there are a lot of people out there who wouldn't be able to take those comments and feel okay with it. It can actually really affect their mental health and make them feel really bad about themselves. And I said, I know that you wouldn't feel good, like if it made somebody feel that way. And he goes, no, I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't want someone to feel like that. And I was like, okay. I said, so we remember then our rule, we don't comment on people's bodies, positive or negative. We don't make
Exactly.
comments
Yeah.
because we don't know how people feel about themselves. We don't know how people feel about that thing about themselves. And we don't want to make them feel bad. Like, and that won't necessarily be our intention. Even complimenting someone saying, oh my goodness, you look like you've lost weight, actually makes them feel like they didn't look so good when they were big
Right.
and that they should lose weight because
It
that's
can
what
be
they're
so
supposed to do to look
tricky.
better. So
Yeah.
you have got to be conscious of these things. But it's a great example of how conditioning can really massively affect your life. And it's only by actually accepting, offering a bit of love to it, and starting to look at it from a completely different perspective, asking some really good questions. Do I actually have to look that way? Or is that just what society is telling me? Because why? Like, what is it that's actually the problem here? Like, what is everyone worried about? It's like, You can be worried about my health. It's my health though, at the end of the day. Like it's my body, it's my lived experience. It's not affecting you. So you don't have to
Yeah.
have an opinion and you doesn't have to worry about it. It's just don't think about it. Like it's not your problem. Like you focus on you and you care about you. And I think it's a whole thing. You have to be mindful that these are the conditionings that make us feel wrong when we're not what
Yeah.
people expect us to be.
Yeah. And it's probably one of the things where our generation is definitely going to continue to make strides and efforts to say things in a correct way, and kind of put quotes around correct, but in a way that's supportive for everyone. But hopefully our efforts will see that change in the next generation. And that a lot of things that we look at and maybe kind of instantly judge people for it just won't even occur to our kids to even think about. At least
Yeah.
that's my hope. And I know it's probably not, there are plenty of people who are continuing to go down the same path as as their parents and their parents before them and all of that, but
Mm.
I'm hopeful
Yeah.
that it'll be at least a little easier. So,
But I think this is the thing. We kind of have a responsibility as parents to raise one of two different types of kids, right? And I know that we can't control everything. They're getting a lot of different influences from 1,000 different places, and there's only so much that we can put in and hope that they run with. But we have a responsibility to be raising kids who are flipping the switch, right? That are changing the scripts. Like we can't have more of the same because more of the
mhm.
same is destroying our culture, self-esteem, our mental health. It's making people miserable.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you really truly go walk down a street and ask everybody you meet how happy they are, how satisfied they are with themselves, how proud they are of themselves. I go to an art class, it's more like just an art group really. We just go and paint as a group, necessarily doing anything kind of learning wise, but it's just something to do together, which is lovely on a Tuesday evening. And it's mostly people who are kind of a little bit older than myself. The self criticism and the it's just so hard to listen to. And like I said to a lady who was next to me, just the most absolutely stunning artwork. And I was like, "Do you have much of your art up at home?" And she was like, "Oh God, no, God, I wouldn't put it up on the walls. Don't want anybody seeing it. No, it just goes in a folder. Really, I just put it away." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "You should be saying that. Like it's beautiful." And they're like, "No, it's rubbish." Like, "Oh no, this that tree," and no, I don't like the colours. The colours aren't quite right. And I'm saying, please, you're doing everything. Which is really nice. So can't have it then. If you're just going to put it in a folder and hide it away somewhere, I mean, put it on a wall at home. It's like, no, we put my art up on a wall somewhere. Someone would see it. I was just like, oh. And I just think it's this like self-depreciation, this like lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, this hide myself away because I can't possibly have anybody noticing or seeing me or judging me any more than they already are. I don't want to see the critique. I don't want the comments. It just makes me really sad. And I'm just like, literally, I have got these like, some of them are great, some of them are terrible. I don't care. I used to even see them as terrible, actually. Like, I literally have got loads of my artwork all over the place in my house now. And sure, I do look at it and go, oh, I'd change that if I did it again or whatever. But I
Yeah.
was learning at the time. It doesn't go in a folder. It still goes up. Like, I still love it. And yeah, someone was saying about painting on a canvas. I'm trying to do this one on a canvas at the moment, doing like loads of chunky bits of paint, the acrylic paints and stuff. And they're like, oh no, you shouldn't do it chunky because then otherwise you can't paint anything if you decide you don't like it and you want to start again. I went, I
Mm.
have no intention of painting over this and starting again. What is wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? It's a creation. It's not fun doing it. So anyway, we can go off on this one forever, but it's sad. We don't need more of that. We don't need more people growing up thinking that they're not enough, that they should be criticized, that they're not good enough
Yeah.
in any way. I want them feeling good about themselves. I want them being proud of what they do and being confident to try something new. And so yeah, I really hope that those values build and build and build. And with every passing day, I notice something new, and me and my husband overcome another little tiny niggle or a challenge or something which we realize we're still saying and doing. We're like, oh, actually, I don't really like that we say that. Like maybe we should be trying to change how we say that. So we're not
Yeah.
perfect. We definitely get stuff wrong. It's just trying to recognize that you are enough. You're allowed to be different. Your kids are allowed to be different. It is okay if your life and the way you live is different to other people. People can judge all they like. It's got nothing to do with you. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. And I know that's so easily said and it's so hard to be done, but fill your life with people who get you and who make you feel
Yeah.
great, and it will all come. It just takes time with the right people around you. So if you're not feeling this right now and you're listening to us thinking you guys are nuts, like that doesn't even feel attainable, then I just have to like just a little bit of a business plug here. That is exactly what I'm here for, because I know how hard this is. And actually, for a lot of us, we haven't had the guidance and the support to even start this, let alone actually being able to shift it. So if you do need help, reach out to me. Ultimately, hopefully this has helped. And obviously we are here every week. We've got another
Yeah.
7 or 8 episodes to go this season, but this has been a really good conversation. I hope that it's helped.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be back again next week, obviously. So I hope people had a lovely week. Don't forget to do your gratitude moment. And if you can, come and tell us. And see you all next week. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Ashley? Are you happy with
Yeah. I'd love to hear what people think about the show and their gratitude moments. So do come share. It really does mean a lot. And
Yes.
just
Yeah,
looking
we love
forward to
hearing from you.
next week. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. You have a good
Have a
week
good
and
one.
take care.
Bye.